This video is brought to you by the community. Thank you to all of my channel members for your continued support.
Most adept predators. Its patience immeasurable. Its focus indomitable. It waits silently for its prey. The adroit hunter positions itself for attack, identifying its unsuspecting target when it's most vulnerable. And then, steeled to the task at hand, the mantis strikes. Its prey never stood a chance.
Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Roberts Space Industries Mantis. Now this is a ship I have got little time in, so I'm a bit of a Mantis rookie. However, I can clearly see its potential. Let's start by first of all taking and appreciating the look of this thing. Although small, it does have those classic engine nacelles that we are so familiar with from RSI. It's small, compact, but in the right hands can be quite a empowering force on the battlefield of space. It has tons of future potential. I kind of like the way it looks. I mean, it's almost a mini Star Trek Enterprise in some respects. It's not quite rounded enough. It does have the angles at the front to break up that circular notion, but the nacelles do sort of give it that Star Trek-y vibe to some certain extent, in my humble opinion. I think the ship is full of potential. Now, you're most likely familiar with this ship in a way which has somehow ruined your day, whether it be pirates that have used the quantum snare to pull you out of your quantum travel and then pin you in place and make you susceptible to boarding, or if it's the AI that decide to pull you over, interdict you and give you a rough time. So the Mantis, although small, can really put a spanner in the works for your day-to-day operations in the verse, unless of course you're the one operating this ship. Now it does have the really cool feature of the quantum snare, and then that ability to pin targets in place and prevent their escape. It's an extremely unique feature. Internally, it's not too comfortable for the player, but they have added some touches in there that I feel are just enough to survive in moderate comfort. I believe the idea would be that you would be maybe set up in a ambushed area, maybe a common trading route or something of that nature, or a chosen path that you know criminals are going to try and get to. Maybe you sit somewhere near Grim Hex, for example, trying to bring these criminals to justice. Okay, so let's talk about the prominent feature that the Mantis offers to players of the verse, and I am of course referring to the quantum enforcement device. Now there are some caveats to this particular device on the ship, so let's cover those now as we look at the awesome animation that this ship has for its device. It looks absolutely incredible. It has a range of 20 kilometers as well, which is pretty good, but in the vastness of space, I think planning to deploy that is going to be a big part of that operation for the Mantis. Okay, so let's go over some of the features of the quantum enforcement device. The Mantis features a specialized quantum enforcement device, QED, designed to stall quantum travel, appearing as 3 rings that are housed in the rear of the ship. Quantum enforcement can be engaged using either a quantum snare or quantum dampening, though not initially. QEDs will eventually be equipped through the utility item ports of a ship, and available for ships other than the Mantis as well. Due to the nature of this device, using a QED will require certain jurisdictions. Doing so without them will be illegal. Now that's very interesting. Basically, it sounds to me like they intend to possibly make it so that if you have a ship with a QED, you have to have a license to use it. If you're on the right side of the law, I believe that was kind of the takeaway I get from that message. So you would attain a license to use it. Maybe it's something that could be seen for Bounty Hunting 2.0, but it's very interesting nonetheless to see what direction CRG take that particular route with the QED devices. Quantum snare. The quantum snare is the primary utilization of the QED, intended for large radius events, approximately 10 to 20 kilometers, and will create a bubble around the ship. Any ship that is within that bubble will be knocked out of quantum travel, and ships passing through will be pulled out of quantum travel as well. Engaging the quantum snare requires significant charge up time, and maintaining the snare requires a lot of power while generating large amounts of heat. So you are going to be vulnerable while this particular system is online, because it's using all of the resources of your components to keep that QED operating. So that is something that you will have to be wary of. Quantum dampening. Quantum dampening is the secondary usage of the QED, preventing the activation of quantum drives within a short range while approximately 2,000 meters, so 2 kilometers. In contrast to the snare, dampening can be activated instantly, trapping lone, unwary ships as long as they are in the radius. So you can pull a ship out of its quantum travel. You can then pin that ship in place. It's a bit of a monster for a small ship. Along with the quantum enforcement device, the Mantis can utilize quantum markers to track potential targets. That is a feature that will almost certainly be useful for Bounty Hunting 2.0. I hope that gets implemented, because the track system for hunting players in the verse at the moment is so lackluster and frustrating, because you get the target last seen and then a timer. So I hope this is a very effective way of bringing criminals to justice. I think pirates are going to have a tougher time, and so they should, in my opinion. I think they have too much free reign at the moment, and the reason for that, in my humble opinion, is there's no balance to it, right? So we can't rely on the AI to bring these players to justice. It's a universe which is self-governed in some respects, and piracy heavily outweighs law enforcement. So I'm hoping Bounty Hunting 2.0 levels the playing field a little bit, because it's very difficult to bring players to justice. We can't rely on the AI, and it's just unbalanced is what I'm getting at. I should also state that, I'm not saying I hate pirates and piracy. No, it's part of the game. I appreciate that, and there is skill and effort involved in being a pirate. I just think that being a pirate outweighs the players that want to play lawfully, and there's not really a good solution from bringing these players to justice and throw them in jail. Bounty Hunting 2.0, I really hope it comes to shine through, so we have a bit more balance and interesting combat scenarios developed from that. And the Mantis will be at its peak, I believe. I really do feel this ship is going to prove itself quite worthy for pirates and law enforcement alike. It's very interesting to see how this is going to play out. Weapon systems then. We have two size 3, I believe they're size 3, located underneath the cockpit itself. Now we know that when the QED is active, that your power systems are going to suffer, your coolers, all that sort of stuff. There are a lot of energies being put into the QED, so you may not be able to fire your weapons that long before they overheat. But of course the animations look superb. CIG are very, very good with their attention to detail. To accompany the fixed weapons, we do have access to missiles as well, so you do have some fighting capability, but it's not really your job to do so. I imagine you should be alongside some other combat vessels and friends among you to help bring down your target or bring in the prey. So we have 4 landing gear. I don't really like the look of the landing gear. It's just something that doesn't sit right with it. I think a tricycle would have been nicer. Just a small observation from me. Absolutely no bearing on the ship itself. Internally, you can see it's very humble. Really enjoy the lighting on the ceiling. I think it looks absolutely superb, but there's enough crew comfort here to keep you in a, let's say, an ambushed scenario for quite some time. You have a basic kitchenette, you have your bed for logging in and out, sleeping obviously, and of course there is a toilet. So basic, very basic crew comfort has been put into this ship, which will help, because if you're trying to set up an ambush or coordinate an attack, you might be on station for quite some time, and the ability to, freshen up is going to be important. No idea how the hygiene mechanic is going to work, but it will be a thing, and I'm sure it will become important. So basic crew comfort has been catered for. Now we do have the classic RSI seats which spin on that sort of rail system at the top. The ship itself is controlled by a HOSAS system, and we have the classic RSI MFDs which have the really cool sort of light blue tint to them. Easy to read, easy to reach. Just good solid MFDs in the ship. As you can see here, that even from this distance they are fairly easy to read. The HUD itself is very good, and the visibility is excellent. Those struts do not affect your visibility at all. They're not too imposing in any way. I've had no sort of issues operating the ship with my limited time, so impressive actually, the cockpit. Let's then take a look at the ship's weapons and components that you will find on a stock RSI Mantis. Okay, here we are on our trusty Mobi-Glass, soon to be replaced by something beautiful and wonderful. And as you can see, we'll start with the coolers, and these are the bracers, and these are size 1 grade 3. These are military coolers. Now, if I was to use this ship a lot, I would definitely 100% upgrade everything, because the power draw for the QED is going to be quite brutal. Power plant is a Regulus. This is a size 1 grade 3. Again, a military grade component for the ship. I think I would probably upgrade absolutely everything. The QT drive is a beacon that is also a size 1 grade 3, and again it's another military drive. So the components are respectable, sure, but there are routes I would take. Like I would swap that for the Atlas to give me some range, 100%, especially if you're trying to track down people throughout the verse. Shield generators are all stop size 1s, and we get 2 of those. It's interesting actually with the balancing coming up. I wonder if they're going to change those. I don't think they will for the ship of this size, but we'll see. Weapons, we have a missile systems with the Dominator 2s, so these are size 1 grade 1. Electromagnetic, haven't changed them, haven't used the missiles to be quite honest with you, but we do get 2 Ignite missiles as well. They're size 2 and they are infrared guided. So 4 missiles with 2 different variants, because words are hard. And then for the weapon systems, they are size 3 currently fixed. They are laser cannons again. Not really a combat ship, and you're not going to get much use out of them whilst your QED is active, which could potentially leave you vulnerable, because once you're active and you've got your target in place, you become the go-to target to kill first for them to make an escape. So just be wary of that. Anyone with a common sense would try and take the Mantis out first, is sort of my humble opinion on that. So let's take a walk around of the ship, and while we do that, I want to talk about some of the scenarios. I think 2 of these Mantises in a fleet, let's say it's a lawful fleet of a medium-sized org, so you've got your fleet, you're going out on a journey to fulfill whatever mission you might be on. Your position gets rumbled, maybe you get picked up by stealth ships that relay your current location to the bad guys, the pirates, the outlaws, whoever it might be, and they decide that they're going to attack you with some fighters, or maybe hammerhead or corvette, maybe a Polaris or something of that nature, and they bring some ships that you are not prepared for. Having a Mantis or 2, I think would be great. It could be used as an anti-raid ship, right? So you're doing your business throughout the verse, and then all of a sudden you get jumped. You're going to be able to quickly spool this drive up. Well, I say quickly. You've got time to spool the drive up, activate it, and pin all of those raiders in place. That allows you some options. One of them being you can assemble a counter-attack. So you might be able to, I don't know, let's pretend you've got a Kraken or an Idris or another ship-carrying ship, where you can then deploy fighters and fight your way out, or just completely destroy that scouting party so they can't relay your position. That's another scenario. Maybe some scouts have stumbled upon your position. You don't want them to know where you are. Maybe you're going back to your base. You don't want to give that up. Having this ship here to pin those enemies in place and then dispatch them is going to be absolutely fascinating to see the uses we get as the game develops. I think there's so many scenarios where this ship is going to be useful. Okay, so that's just some basic theory crafting. There are many theories I could have on this ship. Let's hop in the ship itself then, and we'll go up the one entry point to the ship. Now, it was a little bit tricky to find the button. You do have to get on the elevator and look directly at it. Once you find the up button, obviously you're absolutely fine. So internally, very humble. You'll notice there's no areas for comfort. We do have the large QED at the back that you can sort of see through just through all the pipes and the steel there, but very basic. So here we have, oh, I don't know what happened there. I nearly broke my neck on something. Here we have the toilet with a magic door that teleports because space reasons. So basic toilet, rather have one and not need it than not have one. So nothing really to talk about there. Then we have a bed, which of course is going to be useful for logging in, logging out. Very important for most ships that works. So very timid. We need room for the components, so we will get a bit more busy in here. We have the basic kitchenette, and it just looks like hot drinks, really. Maybe there's a microwave there or something for you to take on sustenance, but nothing exuberant. We do have some component bays here with 2 MFDs. I'm hoping one of those MFDs or monitors would have like an on-screen star map, so you could see what shipping lane or criminal lane or whatever enterprise you're trying to interdict. You could have a route system shown on there. That would be really cool. Then we have these really interesting sort of grated lights. I like the ceiling in here. It's very ambient. It's the lighting's good. Nothing more to say about that really. Just adds to the effect. But a very humble, with more stuff on the way, interior at the moment. So there's even component slots on the floor. So we could find ourselves surrounded by components. And it does look like in the cockpit area there's some more component areas to be inserted. The point to note is there's ample room here to get to the components, however which way they decide to implement them. But at the moment, very, very basic in here. Obviously, it will get hit with the gold pass brush and bring this ship up to speed, and then we really will be in a good spot with this ship. But for pure functionality and the threat that this little ship poses, it's excellent. It's excellent. As you can see, you can stand right in the cockpit. Beautiful, I think we're on Magda today. So yeah, very humble, not a lot going on, but there will be. And when it does, it's going to be a whole new ship. It will add some character to it, because it doesn't have any sort of character when you're operating the ship. I don't feel anything for it like I do with, say, like the Drake Caterpillar, which has its own charisma, bags of it, in fact. So we hop in the seat. You can see it's a HOSAS. We get the excellent MFDs. RSI MFDs are always fairly good, especially on the constellations. The radar needs a rework because you can see it's broken or doesn't really show itself that well, but the visibility is excellent. The struts are not that bad. The only thing is you can't really see behind you, but at that point it's probably too late and you'll have to rely on your sensors. The buttons do work. QD on. In fact, there's 2 buttons QD on. I think in the future one of those might be like activate snare, and the other one would be quantum dampening or something to that effect. But they work, unlike the Cutlass Blue at the moment. Everything in here is good. It's just the radar that lets it down. It's very hard to see and sort of blends in. Now, in the darkness of space, it's not going to be too bad. But at the moment, that could use a little bit of love from the CIG rework brush. So we have a lot of UI improvements coming, and I hope that transfers over to the ships. But there we go, guys. That was my video on the Mantis. If you enjoyed it, you know what buttons to press, and I of course will have more Star Citizen content en route very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Cheers.